There is a man in a grocery store at 9:47 on a Tuesday night holding two nearly identical packages of chicken thighs, and the only difference between them is $1.80. He is 34 years old, earns $51,000 a year before tax, owes $19,000 on a car he no longer likes, and has $412 in his checking account until Friday. He puts the cheaper pack in the cart. He doesn't think of himself as poor. He thinks of himself as careful. And that single word, careful, is the first clue that financial power has levels, and that most people never realize which level they are actually standing on. Because the truth nobody explains is this: financial power is not measured in income. It is measured in how many decisions per day money is allowed to make for you. At the bottom, money makes almost all of them. At the top, money makes almost none. Everything in between is a slow, often invisible migration from one condition to the other. And the people who never understand this spend their entire working lives believing the next raise will move them up a level, when in reality, the levels are not financial at all. They are structural. They are behavioral. They are about what becomes possible, what becomes automatic, and what quietly disappears from your life as you climb. Let's walk through them. At the first level, life is reactive. You are not making plans. You are answering messages from your own circumstances. The phone rings and the heart rate changes before you even see the number. The fridge breaks and the entire month bends around it. A coworker says, "Let's grab dinner Friday," and you do mental math under the table while smiling. People on this level are often described as bad with money, but that's a lazy diagnosis. They are not bad with money. They are running an operating system in which every dollar has 3 jobs, and none of them are optional. There is no slack in the system, and a system without slack cannot plan, only survive. The cruel part is that from the inside, it feels like personal failure. From the outside, it is simply physics. At the second level, something shifts, and it is one of the most misunderstood shifts in modern life. The bills get paid on time. There is a small buffer. The card goes through without that quiet half-second of fear, and almost everyone on this level mistakes it for having made it. They haven't. They've simply moved from acute pressure to chronic pressure. The emergencies are smaller, but more frequent. The car still owns part of their weekend. The job still owns most of their week. They begin to spend on small luxuries, a better coffee, a nicer phone, weekend delivery, because these purchases function as proof that the struggle is over. It isn't. It has only learned to wear better clothes. This is the level where most of the working population lives and dies, and the trap is that it feels stable enough to stop fighting. At the third level, something genuinely changes, and you can hear it in how people talk. They stop saying, "I can't afford it," and start saying, "I don't want to spend on that." Those two sentences sound similar, but come from completely different planets. The first is a wall. The second is a preference. Somewhere around this level, people begin to own assets that produce something: a rental unit, a small portfolio, a side business that runs without them on weekends. The money they earn from sleeping is still small, maybe a few $100s a month, but psychologically it rewires them. They begin to see money as a tool rather than a leash. They negotiate harder at work because they could, in theory, walk. They don't walk, but they could. And that single shift from couldn't to could is worth more than any raise. Now watch what happens at the fourth level, because this is where the texture of life starts becoming unrecognizable to people below it. At this level, the calendar is no longer dictated by employment. A man at this level wakes up on a Wednesday and decides, without asking anyone, to drive 2 hours to see his father. He doesn't request the day off. He doesn't trade shifts. He simply goes. His income that day is not zero. It continues arriving from things he set up years ago. People on the lower levels imagine this is about luxury. It isn't. The luxury is invisible. The actual change is that time has been bought back. He owns his Wednesday in a way that 90% of working adults never own a single weekday in their entire lives. And this ownership of time begins to compound, because a person who owns their time makes better decisions, sleeps better, thinks longer term, and notices opportunities that exhausted people walk past every day. The fifth level is where most outside observers stop being able to imagine accurately, because the change is no longer about lifestyle at all. It is about access. At this level, you do not call businesses. Businesses call you. The bank does not approve your loan with reluctance. It pitches you a product designed for people like you. Lawyers pick up on the first ring. Doctors return calls personally. The price tag on most everyday items becomes information rather than instruction. You notice it, but it does not alter your behavior. A $400 dinner is not a celebration. It is a Tuesday. And the strange thing people at this level almost universally report is that their daily emotional experience of money is roughly the same as it was at level 3. They are not happier. They are not freer in any felt sense. They are simply operating inside a different set of doors, and most of those doors open before they reach them. At the 6th level, the rules of money itself start bending. People here are no longer participants in the economy in the normal sense. They are partial authors of it. When they want something built, they don't buy it. They fund the company that builds it, and then they own the thing and the company. Their tax situation is not a number on a form. It is a strategy designed by a team. Their losses in one place create gains in another by design. And here is the part that genuinely disturbs people when they first understand it. At this level, working harder is mathematically irrelevant. A person on level 1 who works an extra 10 hours earns maybe $150 before tax. A person on level 6 who works an extra 10 hours might move millions, or might move nothing, depending entirely on which decisions they make in those hours. Effort and reward have been completely decoupled. The whole logic of hustle, of grinding, of paying your dues, it stops applying, which is why people on this level so rarely give useful advice to people below them. They are describing a country they live in to people who don't have passports. And then there is a final level, rarely discussed honestly, where money becomes essentially a language for organizing other people's lives. The decisions made here ripple outward through entire industries, cities, sometimes countries. People at this level are not richer than the level below them in any way that matters to their daily comfort. They eat similar meals. They sleep in similar beds. The difference is leverage, the ability for a single sentence, a single signature, a single phone call to redirect the labor and futures of thousands of people who will never know their name. This is what power, stripped of the marketing, actually looks like. It is quiet, it is procedural, it is mostly boring to watch, and it is the thing that almost no one at the lower levels is actually competing for, even when they think they are. Now look back at the man in the grocery store. He thinks he is choosing between 2 packs of chicken. He is not. He is operating inside a level whose rules he did not write and was never shown. And here is the part that should land coldly, because it is the real point of this entire map. Most people do not move up these levels through income. They move up through the structure of their decisions. The person who earns $60,000 and owns one income-producing asset has more functional power than the person who earns $140,000 and owns none, because one of them is building a second source of decisions, and the other is just buying a slightly nicer cage. Income is the bait. Structure is the actual ladder. And almost every financial conversation in mainstream life is designed to keep people focused on the bait. Which raises the uncomfortable question. If you walked through these levels honestly, without flattering yourself, which one are you actually on right now? Not by income, but by how many of your daily decisions money is still allowed to make for you. Most people, when they answer that honestly for the first time, are surprised by how low the number is. And that surprise is useful. It is the first piece of information that wasn't there before. If this kind of breakdown is the sort of thing you want to keep watching, the structures underneath the surface, the rules nobody states out loud, staying subscribed is the simplest way to keep finding them. The next one looks at something stranger. Why the people who finally reach level 4 or 5 often report feeling something they did not expect to feel, something almost no one warns them about, and something that quietly changes what they want from the rest of their lives. The man in the grocery store puts the chicken in the cart, walks to the checkout, and pays. He is not failing. He is not winning. He is simply standing on a level he was never told existed, inside a building with 7 floors, holding a receipt that tells him nothing about the architecture.